the Yonkers Public Schools Reopening Town Hall. I am Councilwoman Tasha Diaz of District 3 and also the Yonkers Education Chair. Today I am joined by Reverend Stephen Lopez, President of the Board of Education, and Dr. Quezada, Superintendent of Yonkers Public Schools. With summer coming to a close and COVID still around, I know that everyone has questions or concerns pertaining to what will happen to their children in September when schools reopen. Governor Cuomo has ordered each of New York State's 5 largest school districts to hold at least 5 town halls before August 21st. And I am honored to host an in-person one. It is imperative that all parents, teachers, and staff members know what is going on before going back in September. Yonkers Public Schools has made sure that they follow all the CDC guidelines and Governor Cuomo's orders. They have publicly released their reopening plan, which is available on their website, or you can go onto my Facebook page as well. When it comes to contact tracing, the district has created a plan, which is immediately upon being informed of a positive COVID-19 test result of a student, teacher, or staff, the district must inform New York State and Westchester County Health Department. We will be utilizing the contact tracing program to assist the state and county with contact tracing. Schools will keep a record of attendance for students and staff members, ensuring student schedules are up to date, keep a log of any visitors, aiding the local health department in tracing all contacts of the individual in accordance with the protocol training and tools provided through the New York State Contact Tracing Program. Regarding remote learning, Yonkers Public Schools is allowing all parents to sign their child up for 100% remote learning if they are not comfortable with sending their child in for hybrid learning. Parents and guardians must complete and submit this form for the 2020 through 2021 registration for all online remote instruction by 5 p.m. Friday, August 21st, 2020. If you have multiple children, you must fill out a separate form for each child. Real-time online instructions with teachers and students will vary. Content and resources will be available online through your teachers and the district's distant learning website. It is also important to note that once a parent or guardian selects 100% online remote instruction, you may not change the selection until the end of your child's first marking period. And to that, I would also like to add, during this year's budget, I also allocated $1 million to the Yonkers Public Schools to ensure that we will have some electronic devices for our children. Now, that may not cover every child in Yonkers Public School, but we are still working to ensure that we can get some more of these electronic devices into Yonkers Public Schools. And I also want to add that myself, as well as Reverend Lopez and the Superintendent of Schools, we have been proactive in many things that people may or may not know about. When it comes to town halls, myself, as well as the colleagues on the stage, we implemented a town hall before the governor implemented a town hall. Before September came, as I just stated, I made sure there was $1 million allocated, and we were able to do this even during COVID. Another thing I want to put forth is I would also like our teachers to please try to work closely with the students. As we all know, we are in unprecedented times. Try to come into the building as much as possible so we can have parents that could come in and speak to you on a personal basis if need be. Yes, we understand this is all new to us, and we're willing to accommodate. We are willing to accommodate, but we're also going to need that extra help, whether it's from the parents or the teachers, to please bear with us. So on that note, I would like to hand it over to Reverend Lopez.
Thank you, Councilman Diaz, and good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come here and join us in this town hall. First, I'd like to thank Councilperson Diaz for putting this together, and yes, before all this happened, she had already put into motion the idea of having a town hall since while she's chair of the Education Committee. But as we know, things happened. So that's why we're having it today, but she had it before even the governor had suggested that we have town halls. The governor has suggested that we have X amount of town halls. To date, we've scheduled 9 town halls. We just added another one, I believe, on Monday for special education. So Dr. Quezada and I, the administration, the city council, Councilperson Diaz, we're willing to go anywhere, anytime, any place to answer questions that you may have concerning this whole process. I have to add, like I've said before, that safety has been priority number 1 in everything all of our plans and everything we do. And I can guarantee you that if we don't feel that on September 8th it will be safe, then our children will not go in the buildings. Everything's still ramped up. Everybody's still working 24/7. Everything's still, we're still collecting data. We're still viewing processes. We're still getting information. But we are going with hybrid learning as of now. But that doesn't mean that there may be a change in our decision based on safety issues for our kids and for their families. We're not political. We're doing this, we're being analytical. We're doing this on scientific and analytical processes from the experts that we have. So with that, I'm not going to be long-winded. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, to actually put on a blazer. It's been a while. I felt kind of funny after a while not putting one of these on. I'm like, oh, at least it fits. So with that, Councilperson Diaz, thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Lopez. Now, we're going to pass it over to the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Edwin Quezada.
Thank you, Councilwoman Diaz. Thank you for your steadfast support for the Yonkers Public Schools and for your willingness to collaborate with us as we navigate this unprecedented period in our history. Certainly, you have been a colleague, a friend, and a fighter for additional funding for the Yonkers Public Schools. So thank you so very much. We have a lot of questions that we want to get to, but before we start, I want to say thank you to all of the guests that we have here. Certainly we have quite a few parents, many who have been leaders throughout this process and so supportive of the school, so thank you. You know who you are and you know your commitment. Thank you to the President of the Yonkers Federation of Teachers, Ms. Samantha Ciriello, who's also here, for being here. Thank you to the President of our Civil Service unit as well, Mr. Turner and his team. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your collaboration, your support, and your understanding. As Reverend Lopez indicated, this is our 6th town hall meeting already. And we have shared a great deal of information. They have been very well attended. Today, before this meeting, we held a town hall meeting in Spanish, and we had over 100 parents who attended that session. The previous Zoom sessions were attended by over 500 individuals who sign on to get all the information that they believe is appropriate for them to make the right decisions. As Reverend Lopez indicated, the district is also offering our families a 100% remote option for our children. However, at this point, the intent of the district is to open utilizing a hybrid model where students will have an opportunity to come to school at least 2 days a week and then receive remote instruction 3 other days. You know, we have a robust plan. You know, we want to work together with you parents and our teachers and our civil service employees to provide the best support to our children. We recognize that our young people and our families need support, and we are here to support them. I just want to point out that I distributed a flyer because starting Thursday, we will begin the Parents Technology Academy. And that is a group of volunteers from central office as well as ex-students of mine when I was a building principal who have come together to educate our parents on the different platforms that the district will be using to educate our students using distance learning. So parents, please attend those sessions. We have quite a few of them scheduled. We will be observing social distancing. And I just hope that you come by and that you get as much information as possible, because parents, one of the most important piece of making sure that this work is being partners. We have to partner in this work, and we need to do this together. Although we might not all be in the same boat, we are indeed in this together. So thank you, Councilwoman Diaz, and it's your meeting and your questions. We are here to support you and to help with responding to them.
Thank you, Dr. Quezada. So we're going to start with the first set of questions. Now, once we finish the set of questions, anyone that has questions pertaining to the topic at hand may raise their hand and they will be escorted to the podium. So the first set of questions are pertaining to transportation and social distancing. What will transportation be like for the students? How often will the buses be sanitized?
So thank you for that question. Let me start by saying that the district does not operate its own buses. We have contracts with multiple companies that they also have very specific requirements from the Department of Health. Tomorrow we have a scheduled meetings with all of the owners of the companies. We are meeting with their managers, and we are reviewing all of the protocols for the buses. Certainly, we will adhere to social distancing on the bus, and we will follow the recommendations of the Department of Health. 1 student per seat, and the only way that more than 1 student can be seated in 1 seat is if they are siblings. It's the only way that it is permitted. But our bus companies, we will meet with them tomorrow, and we will ensure that we address all of the necessary protocols with the owners of those companies.
And to add to that, just so you know, a typical large school bus has 2 sets of 11 seats. There's 22 seats in a large school bus, and they're designed to hold 44 children. In fact, you see it on the side of the bus. So with the children sitting 1 to a seat, you're actually basically cutting in half the capacity of the vehicle itself. And as you'll find out later today during the Q&A, that's what we're shooting for in the classrooms, as well as a 50% reduction in classroom size. So you know there'll be 22 kids to a bus.
Second question. Will there be limited students allowed in the bathrooms, cafeteria, recess, office, nurses' room, hallways, and the auditorium on arrival and dismissal?
So what is important to note is that social distancing must be observed in every area of the school. You know, so in the cafeteria, you know, during the hybrid model, you know, only half of the students that come to that school may be permitted to be in the cafeteria. The other students will actually eat in the classroom. However, since we know that we want to provide a hot meal to our students at least once of those 2 days, we want to bring half of the students on Monday, let's say, to eat in the cafeteria, and then on Tuesday they will eat in the classroom, and the other group will eat in the cafeteria. Every student must be seated in one direction, you know, unfortunately, students cannot face each other anymore, which is the same case in the classroom. Same thing will happen in the gymnasium. Same thing will happen in the nurse's office. We have to significantly reduce the number of adults and young people that can be in those places. Bathrooms, the idea is to collaborate with our school staff so that we can put systems in place so that 5, 6 students are not sent to the classroom at the same time. The facilities department is working on putting dividers, between areas that are commonly shared, so that our students are not next to each other while in the bathrooms. So we're putting all of that in place.
And in addition to that, what we're also doing is we're examining, a lot of this takes what I call strategic scheduling, which is very important. And not only strategic, but it has to be surgical in nature. It has to be very, very fine. We are also looking into staggered arrival times for the buses, because if you have 4 buses pull up at the same time, you got 4 groups of kids. A, you don't want them sitting in the bus. B, you don't want them standing outside all grouped together. So we're looking into strategies with the principals to have the buses arrived in a staggered fashion, and the parents that bring the kids to school having a time around that time, but not at the exact same time. So we're trying to avoid bottlenecks at every turn when it comes to the kids getting to school in the morning and being dismissed in the afternoon.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up to the podium with a question pertaining to transportation and social distancing?
What's the question?
Good evening. You stated that 22 seats for the bus is going to be cut in half. What is being done budget-wise to ensure that there's enough busing for all the children that are going to go to school?
We're going to have the same busing, but understand that with the hybrid model, only half the students will be going to school at any given point in time. With the hybrid model, you have Group A, which you're going to go on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday they'll be taught remotely from home, and then the Group B will also be taught. They'll be in Thursday and Friday and have Monday and Tuesday off. So by design, you're only having half those kids in anyway, with the exception of mandated special ed and ICT, which will come in on Wednesdays. Wednesday is going to be something called Wellness Wednesday. We're going to have professional development. We're going to have deep cleaning. We are going to require the bus companies to clean the vehicles every evening. Bus companies have something called a yard man, and the job of the yard man is to make sure that all the buses come in, that they're parked properly, and they have cleaners as well. So that's not new to them, except they're going to have to step it up and do a little better. It's just a sweep, just do a whole. We're using CDC-approved products, and those products we do have available online. If you want to know what they are, they're on our website as well. So we're going to make sure that the buses don't go over capacity, just because it's the way, just by design, they're going to be happening.
Gotcha. My follow-up question would be in regards to the social distancing, trying to enforce a plan for making sure that there aren't too many kids going to the bathroom or kids aren't facing each other in the cafeteria and the classroom. What happens if we get a child that doesn't want to wear a mask?
So I can quickly respond to that regarding students who do not want to wear a mask. First of all, I would encourage parents. I was just reading a document from the American Academy of Pediatricians. I just picked it up as I left the building. These are the 10 top questions regarding masks in children. So I would encourage all parents to read this document. You know, at the end of the day, I'll make it available so that you can see the contact information where you can get it. But I think it's a great document in terms of parents understanding the most important question regarding the use of masks. Now, one of the things that I discussed both with the administrators and the teachers union is that there's no doubt that we have to create sort of like an addendum to the code of conduct so that we can determine how do we address those young people who will refuse to wear a mask in a school. That will not be an option, you know, in our schools. Masks are expected to be worn. And for those young people who do not want to wear a mask, you know, except for those who have a legitimate condition as to why they should not wear a mask, you know, and the parents are going to come to us and they're going to say, you know, for the following reasons, my child cannot wear a mask. But for those who just want to refuse, you know, first we begin by educating them, by having very good conversation with our children. We're not going to start by being punitive.
Right.
That's, you know, the COVID-19 has punished us enough. So we're not going to start by punishing our children. But certainly we will have a rule that says that masks are expected in our schools at all time unless you are eating or unless you are outdoors or unless you are on a mask break. You know, we now have to incorporate mask break into our schedule, and we need to work on that with the staff in the school. But those who just want to refuse, you know, we will work with them. I mean, it's just, and I know that you have worked with your children. I know our parents are working with our children as it relates to that. So we just kind of follow up on the work that you have done as a parent.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kasi. I got a child now going to 9th grade in Riverside School. When we leave Lincoln Park, one trip is 4.5 miles. 9th grade, they are not entitled to take school bus. What can we do to help her? Taking a school bus, I'm ready to pay for it. Because for her, 2 buses she has to take from McLean to get into the school. It's almost 40 minutes. It's crazy, another 40 minutes back home. And she doesn't feel comfortable because she doesn't know she's only 14 years old. Can you do something?
May I recommend that you give your name to Dr. Arias, because this question is not about COVID-19. Dr. Arias will take your name, and then we will do the proper follow-up with you as it relates to your child, and we will see how we can help you. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My question is, you said that you want to have students have a hot lunch, which is great. And what if they are a child that only gets hot lunch? So both days, you know, they would have hot lunch and they would be in the cafeteria.
Are you saying that your child must have a hot lunch?
Let's say if there's a child that must have hot lunch, that they don't bring lunch from home. You know, how you said you want one child to have,
Right.
which is brings lunch to them. Wouldn't it just be easier for the kids to eat lunch in the classroom rather than going to the cafeteria?
I think both situations are important because there are some children that we want to provide the necessary nutrition and provide a hot meal to them. It might be the only hot meal that that child will have because of the situation at home. Now, if you want to send the lunch, if you want to send lunch with your child, that's also something that you can do, and your child can stay in the classroom or can actually go to the cafeteria. The only thing that we are not going to allow lunch boxes to come to our schools. The students have to come, the lunch has to be placed in sort of like a disposable bag. We will not allow lunch boxes in school.
Okay, so they wouldn't be able to eat the hot lunch in the classroom with the other kids so that they're not?
No, we will not be able to serve the hot lunch in the classroom.
Okay, and also with recess, how would they be able to social distance if there's 3 classes, let's say, outside at once? Say
Well-
little kids like to play tag, for instance.
Well-
How are they going to be able to social distance outside playing?
That will all have to be part of the creative scheduling that we need to put together with our school leaders. You do know that it is highly recommended that a lot of activities take place outdoors. It is highly recommended that the students have an opportunity to be outdoors and do some running because they might not be able to do some of the activities in the gym. So we just need to teach our children the importance of social distancing. There are some sports that our children will not be able to do at this point. I'm really hoping that this is like a 3-month thing, that we will be able to come back to the sports that our children like to play. But at this time, we just have to continuously teach our children the importance of social distancing. And believe me, I was a child once. I had children of my own. They don't know how to be apart from each other, but we just need to continue to encourage them to understand why this is important, which is what I said our parents are now doing. You are constantly educating your children. Well, we in the schools, we need to continue to reinforce the work that you have done in the last number of months.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Only thing is turning it back and forth. Can you
Good afternoon. I have 2 questions. One is as far as the social distancing on the bus. I know you said there's 22 seats. Even if you have 11 kids on that bus, it still seems the social distancing, and that's still too many. So how do you secure that environment if you have to have 11 kids on the bus?
No, there's going to be 22 kids on the bus. There are two rows of 11.
Mm-hmm.
2 rows of 11, which are 22. They typically hold 44. So 1 kid to every bench seat, all the way down.
That's just so close.
Yeah, and we're going to require them to wear masks, but it's the best we could do. We're in a pandemic,
Monitor,
you
that
know.
seems like a hard job for one bus monitor and then the bus driver. And
It's
then
harder.
that many kids.
You're right, and I was a bus driver. I started as a bus driver, and I didn't have a monitor,
So
so
I
I'm
can
sure people
imagine.
were praying for me. But I'll tell you, that if our monitors are experienced monitors that are trained, and if they can handle 44 kids on a bus, I'm sure they could do with the 11. Most of our monitors are working with the same kids year in and year out till they transition or they move, so they know the kids, and there's an established relationship between the monitors. And I've known some monitors that are very motherly, and I know some monitors that when kids needed to be, you sit down, they sat down. So I feel pretty comfortable with the crew that we got.
Okay, my second question is, as far as the
Medical conditions that require kids not to wear masks, I want to know how realistic that is, because I have a young child who had a heart condition. He still requires a mask. I have a daughter that was asthma. They can wear masks. I have family members who have medical conditions. Even when you're on oxygen and you have cancer, you can wear a mask. I don't know what can you get in writing that can state that you're not required to wear a mask. And if these children are not required to wear a mask, can they be put at just remote learning only, that they are not allowed to come into school, since we know children most times are not asymptomatic?
I think you make an excellent point. However, that is a parent's choice. Our parents have a choice. They have a right. And if the 2 doctors, the child's pediatrician and our chief medical doctor, they will have a conversation and they will decide whether this is appropriate or not. Ultimately, our medical office will be involved in the conversation. We are not just going to accept a note from the parent, my child cannot wear a mask. That's not acceptable. There has to be a conversation between the 2 doctors.
Okay, I appreciate that. My
another good question, and you know, I have been involved in so many meetings that it's just incredible. We had a conversation with the B-Line. They have protocols in place related to who can get in their buses and how. You know, they have their protocols posted on their buses. So we just have to rely on the fact that everyone needs to do their part. You know, this is not, for the most part, the only young people that we have that use the B-Line are our high school children. And believe me,
And
we
junior
all...
high school.
Huh?
And junior high school.
Not in Yonkers.
Yes.
Well, unless they got any type of transportation, you're right about that.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so, thank you. So we all know that our young people sometimes might not comply with all the rules. I think it's about, you know, and I've been saying it at every town hall meeting, we depend on our parents and us, the educators, on being the link to ensure that our children understand that this is a pandemic and that it has major implications if they do not follow some of the social distancing, the wearing of mask rules. I think it's a question of educating our children. I have to be honest with you. I believe firmly that Yonkers kids will follow rules. They have always demonstrated that. They know that there are health implications not only for them but for their family members. So we just need to continue to support them and continue to educate them. What I don't want to be is punitive.
I agree.
I don't want to be punitive with our children. I just want to educate our kids.
What do you do about the parents? Because sometimes it's not the kids, it's the parents who are not educated enough to inform the children. So are we going to have town halls where we're educating the parents on the seriousness of them wearing masks? Because I walk past the park and it's scary.
As I said before, this is our 6th town hall meeting. We have stressed on each and every one of them how important the parents are in ensuring that if we are to return to school, you know, we need them. We need our parents. This just cannot be done by our building principals, our teachers, and our civil service employees. You know, if you look at my PowerPoint presentation, one of the core values of the work is parents as partners. You know, we have to be partners in this work, because if not, this will not go well. So we need our parents, and we need to continue to stress the importance of feeling safe. You know, our parents, you very well know that we are in Yonkers, and many of our families are experiencing major financial challenges. You know, we already in the district, we purchased 2 million masks, such as the one you're wearing, because we want to have them available to our families. We don't want a family to say, I cannot come to school because I cannot give my child a face mask. Well, we have them available. I think it's a question of being partners, and it's a question of communicating with each other. I never thought that I was going to have to make an investment of over $600,000 in a mask that can only be worn once and then it has to be thrown out. But that's what we just did. And we received them, and we have them available, because we know that we need to provide all the support that we can to our parents, because the parents are our clients, we work for them, and we want to service them appropriately.
Thank you.
Through the chair, if it's okay with you while they're walking down, maybe you have a comment, a comment, we could speak while they're coming down to avoid some dead space. I know somebody's coming down now. I just want to make the public aware that that all of our town hall meetings that we've had, what's 6 now? I'm losing counts. 7? How many? 6 with this one. 6 with this one. All the ones at the district halls, I know this is going to be available, and but the ones that we've had are available on demand at our website about no more than 10 minutes after they're over with, they're posted. So if you want to see, like I had said yesterday at a meeting, if you want to binge 9.5 hours of town hall meetings one day with some popcorn, then by all means you can go to our website and you can download and watch the previous town hall meetings.
So the next topic of questions that were submitted by parents is special education, speech, OT, therapy. One of the parents' questions is, I would like to know the exact plan for the special education students. I have a daughter on the autism spectrum that is a student. For in-person instruction, is it 4 days or 5 days a week? Also, if Yonkers Public Schools decides to go 100% virtual for all students, what is the response to the fact that virtual therapy for most special needs is not a viable solution?
Thank you, Councilwoman Diaz. First of all, our special needs children are entitled to the same education that our general education students are, to the extent possible. We know that there are conditions that may get in the way. In terms of being specific to the question, a student who is in an autistic program is to be in school 4 days a week. That student is to be in school on A days and on B days. On C days, which is the Wednesday, the Flex Wednesday, then they are to receive an hour and a half of synchronous instruction by the classroom teacher. So that's the expectation for our special needs students. In terms of related services, it has been made very clear to us that some parents felt that the services that the children are entitled to, such as speech, OT, and PT, particularly speech for many of our families, they were not comfortable with it. I feel very strongly that we, collaborating with our administrators and our bargaining units, we will come to a place where our families will be comfortable with receiving the mandated services that they are entitled to. We need to figure that out. One of the things that we have done is we now use a single platform, for instruction, which is Microsoft Teams. It is a phenomenal tool. It allows for phenomenal interaction to take place. Just parents, be patient with us. That this is new to all of us. Distance learning was not something that was ever happening in our pre-K-12 education. We're going to figure this out. We're going to figure this out collaboratively, and I think we will be in a good place in the city of Yonkers as it relates to effectively servicing our special needs students. The only thing I ask our parents is, please stay with us, stay the course, keep sending us email. Please reach out to me or to Dr. Rodriguez or to Ms. McCaskill so that we have a clear understanding of what the challenges are so that we can guide you through the process.
Now we're going to open the floor for any questions pertaining to special education, speech, and OT therapy.
Hi everyone, thank you Councilwoman Diaz for hosting. My name is Desiree. I have a child who's labeled autistic, who is this year supposed to be transitioning to pre-K and enter general education with IEP services. Would someone with that type of label be received going on A days and B days as you refer to autism, or will they be one or the other?
I just have a question of clarification. Based on your description, I heard that your child is a general education student receiving related services. Is that accurate? Or?
Yes, that's correct.
So right now it's 2 days, either A days or B days. That's how your child will be attending schools if we are on the hybrid model. I just want to know more, at some point on the side, or maybe with Dr. Arias, and just get more information. Then we can go back, we can look at your child's IEP, and then we can probably make the necessary arrangement to figure out how do we provide more support for your child.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Can I ask one question?
You can answer the question.
Okay, great. What is the protocol when a child shows symptoms of illness while in the care of an educator? Will they contact the parent to pick up the child or hold the
So I do not want my educators to be the first line of communication with the parent when a child is exhibiting an illness. I want the medical professional to be the one to have the conversation with the parent. So if a child demonstrates, while in school, that now his body temperature went up, then my expectation will be that that child will come directly to the nurse's office for the nurse to make the first assessment, then a phone contact to the parent so that the pediatrician makes the assessment, and then the parent will get back to us. It is important to know, and you know this, just because the temperature of a child went up in the middle of the day does not necessarily mean that it is a sign of COVID. Fever, is a sign of multiple child's illness. So I want the professionals to be the one who make the assessment. I don't want us to all of a sudden go crazy and say, you have fever, you have COVID. That's not the way we will operate, and our teachers don't operate that way. Our teachers will always send the child to the nurse's office to begin the initial assessment.
Thank you. And regarding my child, who should I contact to further explore the very specific details of our situation?
It will be great if you give your name and the name of your child and your phone number to Dr. Arias, and she will take the information. We're going to bring it back, and maybe we'll ask Ms. Mason or Ms. McCaskill to call you tomorrow.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Before we answer the next question, I just want to add that there was also $1 million also allocated to go for nurses and security guards as well. So City Council altogether added $2 million to Yonkers Public Schools in our budget this year. $1 million I allocated personally for the electronic devices, and we passed that unanimously. And also the board we voted unanimously as well for the $1 million pertaining to the nurses and the security guards for the school.
And just to thank you, Councilwoman Diaz, and as it relates to the $1 million for technology, I want all the families to know that with that $1 million, we put a resolution to the trustees to purchase close to 4,200 Chromebooks. Those Chromebooks are expected to begin arriving next week. Then we will begin the process of imaging those Chromebooks, and then we will begin the loaners program for our families. So we have about 42 Chromebooks because of your incredible efforts, Councilwoman Diaz. We have another 1,500 laptops that we're also going to be lending to our families. In addition to that, we are preparing 1,000 laptops with hotspots already for those families who will indicate that they don't have internet access. 1,000 might not be enough, but we will consider expanding that program so that there are more than 1,000 to our families. We are doing our very best to provide to those families that need it the most. That's what we want to do.
Hello, good evening. My son does have IEP, and I would like to know also that he is supposed to receive OT services and is not receiving the services that he's supposed to receive. He was evaluated at Hawthorne School by an evaluator, and I still not yet had heard anything in reference to him receiving OT services. And I want to know in this school year, how am I going to go about receiving those services plan?
And just a follow-up question, your child was evaluated this summer or before?
It's already been evaluated.
So the services have not started yet?
No.
Okay.
Originally they stated that, he never was evaluated, and then I had to show proof that he was evaluated where he was evaluated at, and then I was told, we didn't forget about him, okay, we're in the process, and then I was told, okay, no, we didn't forget about him, okay, we'll come back to another meeting about it. It's like a lot of run around. He was supposed to have OT a long time ago.
So again, please give your name and number to Dr. Arias. We will follow up with you tomorrow just to see the status of your OTPT services tomorrow. Okay, I appreciate it. So doctor, as soon as they are finished, because they're not observing social distancing, but they're wearing masks, so that's okay. So just after they are finished, if you could please go
I have
there.
a question, but I don't know if I should wait to the other. I was just basically trying to find out. I received a message from the teacher through Class Dojo as if she was still the teacher of the class. So are these children returning back to the same teacher, same class? I'm a little confused because she kind of addressed the Class Dojo as if these same students are her students. She basically gave a listing of things that she would need for during the school year. And she also told me that the headphones that they had from the last time, she still has them. So like I said, the way she addressed the Class Dojo is that these are still her students. So I'm just trying to figure this out.
And your child is a special needs child?
Yes,
So in what grade is your child in?
he's at first, he should be going to second.
But so there might be a possibility that teacher is your child's teacher, because sometimes we have bridge classes, but we can follow that up.
Okay.
And I'm thrilled and thankful that teacher is reaching out to you and contacting you. So kudos to that teacher for doing that. But again, there is a possibility that it is a bridge class, and that your child will be with the same teacher this year.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know the circumstances. I will need to look into it. Thank you.
Good evening. So in reference to what I believe Keisha was saying, my daughter has been, evaluated for IEP as well. I had my meeting with the Board of Education right prior before COVID hit. She was supposed to get her services and, nothing has happened, obviously, because school is not in session. Now, are they gonna start this again in September? Because I had my meeting, I had, the counselor, I had all this, everything actually was in place for her to have it done. Now, is that gonna kind of jump off in September, or is that not gonna happen?
Well, no, if the meeting took place, there are multiple steps associated with completing the IEP. So again, what I would love is to have your number, follow up with my team, see where they are with your IEPs. The IEP might be on the final stage, might be on the correction stage, or the editing stage. And then it has to be sent to you for you to sign it and for you to agree to the services that are being identified on the IEP.
I've done that, I actually done that part.
So you returned the IEP already? So then the services are scheduled to begin in September then. Okay?
Can I just repeat on one of the last questions about the staggering of the buses and all the children? In reality, I think we all know that some of the kids are going to be very excited to go back to school, and I believe it's going to be very hard for them to do social distancing. It is a reality, but also too with the amount of staggering with the buses, if you're going to have them certain, separate 15 minutes apart, what about the parents that are working? That, bank on that time to drop their kids off and then, and then go to work. That's going to be very difficult.
There's no scenario that works, that will work for every parent. If you drop your child to school, we're still going to put systems in place for you to be able to do that. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend that if you have the ability to drive your child to school, that is one of the best options. Because children inside the bus, they will do what they want to do it, what they want to do when they want to do it, whether there are 5 adults in the bus or not. And we've been around children for a very long time. So, I understand your concern because you need to get back to work or you need to go to work. But we also want to accommodate those parents and those adults that do want to see a stagger system during arrival and dismissal. So we just have to see how we figure that out together.
Can I I'm sorry, ask just one more question, I am sorry. I'm a registered nurse and I worked through COVID this whole time, and literally less than 2% of the children we're getting, and you can fact check that if you want, but we all know that once one kid, gets a fever, it's like everything is gonna, close down. Again, what are we gonna do to prevent, people from, getting their anxiety or getting scared that, oh my God, I don't want my, it's kind of, that's the reality of what it's gonna be. So, as a nurse, I'm not a teacher, so it's gonna be hard for me. I work 12-hour shifts, and it's going to be very difficult for me to teach my child, especially ADHD kids, kids that have a little hard time, going over, help, especially kids that need IEPs. I mean, how are we even going to work this out? It's going to be very, very difficult.
Well, first of all, thank you for your services and the work that you've done through this very difficult period in our history. You are 100% right. This is a whole new educational system. There has to be a process of education, and when we return to school, first we need to provide support to our teachers and our administrators and our civil service employees. We need to provide the necessary social emotional support and training that is needed. And then, if we return on a hybrid model, the expectation will be that those first few days with our children will be about addressing their fears and their anxieties and their concerns. I don't think we can go into reading, writing, and mathematics right away. I think there needs to be a period of support, and I think our educators are prepared to do that. We've done this before, but it is something new to us. And I have to be honest with you, if I were to be a classroom teacher today, I'm going to have to go to the web and figure out what are some of the things that I need to do with my kids and the adults next to me, because the adults next to me will be equally concerned. So I need to be able to alleviate some of those fears and provide support. But I so much understand where you are, and it is something that we are dealing with on a daily basis, and it's difficult. But I do agree with you. We need to figure out a way in America how to come back together. We need to figure out a way, because if not, when will that happen? I'm not sure. I mean, that we can wait another 3-4 months. I'm not sure. I mean, what's going to happen to our children?
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Do we have any more IEP questions? Okay, so the next topic we're going to move into is COVID safety. These are all questions that were presented to my office through parents throughout the district that were not able to reserve a seat or were not able to come in. Will the desks have a shield of glass or plastic on them to protect the students from the other kids who are getting accommodated to not wear masks due to medical reasons?
One of the things I love about this town hall meeting is that, our parents are able to come up with some really good recommendations. So to me, I don't see that as a question. I see it as a recommendation that I think can be easily implemented, because they already sell those individual dividers. So I'm highlighting that question because I'm saying to myself, this is such a good point. If a child is not able to wear a mask, then let's provide a divider for that classroom so that the child is not face to face with the other children. So thank you for the recommendation.
Yes, and that's why we opened the floor, as well as my email and my legislative aide's email, to make sure that everyone was included. Mm-hmm. And this platform is being displayed on many different platforms as well, so everyone had a chance to, and will also still after this have a chance to contact my office as well if there's any questions that has been missed. The next question is, will the children who are going to school have hand washing breaks before and after lunch?
I see this often in place in many of our schools. I mean, sometimes I go to schools and I see all these children lined up waiting to go into the bathroom, and then I ask, why are they here? Why can't they go individually, to the bathroom? Why can't they go to the classroom and then go to the bathroom? And oftentimes the person attending to them will tell me, no, Dr. Quezada, this is a hand washing bathroom breaks before they go to the class. So this is something that can certainly be done. But I also encourage our families, to teach our children how to use sanitizers, which we are going to have available in our schools. So it's not just about going to the bathroom, it's also about purchasing or having the proper sanitizers in our schools.
If a child or teacher comes down with symptoms of COVID-19, will the class be required to quarantine?
So the expectations are very clear for me as a superintendent. The moment that someone shows symptoms of COVID, that person must follow up with a medical doctor. Symptoms of COVID, particularly in the fall and in the winter, is not an indication of COVID. It's just a symptom. What we need to do is do our due diligence and do the proper follow-up. I think it's a question of utilizing our chief medical doctor, utilizing the partnership that we now have with St. John's Hospital and St. Joseph Hospital. They have already agreed to do all the testing necessary for us. So I think it's conducting immediate testing for those individuals that are showing symptoms, because we need to make the others feel comfortable, before we put them back in a class. Now we have the ability of doing a COVID test, that can come back in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I read that they have a 90% accuracy. So it's a question of working collaboratively with the medical providers to ensure that the right information comes back to us on a timely manner, more than anything.
The next question is, in the event of a case, how will parents and staff be notified? I'm aware of the HIPAA law, but schools and parents can be notified without the identity. Can schools and parents be notified without the identity being publicized?
Absolutely, that's a must, because we need to empower our children and our adults to make decisions that are in the best interest of their health more than anything. And there is a way of notifying the learning community without having to identify that person. So we did that during COVID-19, during the initial outbreak of COVID-19, and we will continue to do so. And we will rely on the local Department of Health, with whom we have an excellent relationship, Dr. Ambler, to make sure that they also put systems in place to assist us. As a matter of fact, that Dr. Ambler is assisting us by helping us identify a person that will be attending to the needs of Yonkers, being that we are the largest city in Westchester County.
And one of the challenges we had at the beginning was, who do we call at the county? And how do they get back to us? So we'll have a specific point of contact that is dedicated to networking with our district and our chief medical officer. In addition to that, one of the things that kick in anytime there's a positive result is the contact tracing protocol. And the contact tracing protocol is being managed by Department of Health, and they have a team out there that's specially trained. And to be honest with you, I have one of the members of my church came back from Florida 14 days ago, a little over 14 days ago. And she got a phone call 36 times while she was at home from the team, making sure she was at home. So these people ain't no joke. They're on top of their game, and they will make sure that we stay safe.
So that'll end that part of the questioning. The next part is disinfecting. How often will classrooms get disinfected, and by whom?
Our custodial team will be engaging in those activities. Classrooms will be disinfected daily, utilizing green products. We're not allowed to utilize anything other than green products by CDC requirements. There are classrooms that will require more than daily disinfecting. Like for instance, if you have a computer lab that is utilized multiple times, then you do not want that classroom to be utilized by the next cohort of students without the proper disinfecting. So they are regular classrooms. They are only used by one cohort of students. Then that classroom will be disinfected daily, with the understanding that there may be instances when there needs to be additional support. In those classrooms that may be shared, they need to be disinfected more often. There are many strategies being put out there as it relates to disinfecting. We are exploring them all, and we are working really hard to make sure that we follow all the necessary protocols within the limitations of our district.
And to add to that, to accentuate what Dr. Quezada said, all the products that we're using to clean the classroom are green products. We're not going to use any chemicals that typically we sometimes use at home. No Clorox, no Lysol, no Greso. We're using all green products that are approved by the CDC, because we do have some children as well that have allergies. So, and they're very sensitive to certain chemicals. So the chemicals we are using are posted on our website in our plan if anybody wants to know, and they've been approved by the Center for Disease Control.
Next question pertains to child care. Will after-school child care be provided in the schools like previously if needed to accommodate working families?
It's difficult, I have to tell you. And I know that my trustees will tell me probably that is the expectation, because they have pushed really hard for those child care centers to be available on day one. We have a meeting scheduled with the child care providers. We're going to meet with them. We first need to verify with them that they are going to follow all of the Department of Health guidelines. We also need to speak to our custodial staff, because our custodial staff will now be asked to do more work than they are traditionally asked to do. So if the buildings are not immediately clear, then our custodians might not have the time to properly disinfect some classrooms. So there are a lot of conversations that will need to take place between the child care providers and our custodial staff, because we want to be respectful of everyone through this process, but we need to make sure that we have the time in the afternoon to do the proper disinfecting. In addition to that, we truly have to limit the number of individuals that come into a school. So the way the child care providers are set up is that if a parent chooses to have, if a child selects, a parent in our district may select a child care provider that is in a school that is different than where that child attends. So I'm extremely concerned about children who do not belong to that school coming to that school without us knowing that someone is keeping the proper attendance. So there are a lot of as it relates to whether or not the district will allow child care to be in effect once we start school.
So the next set of questions pertains to hybrid learning. Is the curriculum the same for both hybrid and remote learning?
Absolutely. If I am a second grade teacher, I am expected to deliver these second grade standards to our students, whether we are in a 100% remote environment or whether we are in a hybrid environment. And our teachers, they're very well trained, they know how to do it, they are committed to doing it, so I have no reservations about that happening, but the expectation is that all the standards will be taught during that year. Certainly, we need to do, because of COVID-19 and the fact that we were closed, we need to do some initial assessments to sort of figure out where is that child. to figure out the learning gaps. So we need to put systems in place. So if you're a second grader, there are some standards from first grade that need to be taught in order for that student to move into doing the second grade standards effectively. And we're going to work collaboratively with our teachers and our administrators to come up with systems to do that. We in the district, we came up with something called power standards. And those power standards are the very specific standards that are needed in order for you to be successful in the next grade level. So we have those standards, we can roll them out, we can make them part of our professional development, and they are already posted in our website. So parents, you can go to our website, see the power standards, and sort of say to yourself, oh, this is what my child needs to know in order to be successful in this particular grade level. And there are a lot of tools that we have. The child should be practicing those standards by going to Clever and finding some of those programs that we have there that will assist your child with being prepared for the next grade level.
If my child, who is in hybrid, has to quarantine for 14 days, how will they keep up with their in-person schoolwork?
Well, if a child is quarantined, that child is on 100% remote for 14 days. So they need to do the work that it is assigned to the 100% remote students.
But to add to that, think about it, that if the child is quarantined for 14 days and is sick, there's no way you're going to get a sick child to learn. They're going to be in bed, they're going to be sweating, they're going to be with the fever, they're going to be uncomfortable, mommy, mommy, mommy. Hopefully they say daddy, daddy, daddy every now and then. But they're going to be sick at home. So in the event they're asymptomatic, then I'm sure, our teachers, one of the great things about our teachers in our school district is they care. They care about our kids. You don't know how many teachers I've run into as early as this morning, their heart is broken because they haven't seen their kids. Their heart is broken because they haven't been able to go back. Their heart is broken because they really, really care. But there's no way you're going to get a sick kid to learn.
And we will not be punitive if that child is unable to complete that work during that period.
Are the students that are doing hybrid learning have the same teacher in class and online? This person is asking pertaining to middle school and high school.
Sure. The teacher of record is the teacher of record. What may be different is the modality of instruction that happens in person as opposed to on those days when that child is remote. Which is why I am encouraging my parents, please familiarize yourself with Microsoft Teams. Please familiarize yourself with a platform called Nearpod. It's a phenomenal tool that your child will be able to learn the curriculum even without having that teacher in person. That teacher can record the lesson and do an entire activity using Microsoft Teams and Nearpod and deliver that instruction. Nowadays, these technology companies, they have come up with so many tools that I am just incredibly happy about it and how we are doing it. Let me just share with you, just yesterday, I was facilitating a session with Mr. Ibrahim, one of my directors, and with your smartphone, you get the application. If I am speaking while Microsoft Teams is open, you, the parent, will be able to translate what I'm saying, what my voice is saying, in your native language. Those are tools that I never thought they existed. Now, so yesterday we tested it. And since you know that my first language is Spanish, I put Spanish. And Mr. Ibrahim was speaking, and he was translating with almost 99% efficacy, what he was saying was being translated to Spanish. Voice to translation. Never thought that that was available. So nowadays, I will be able to facilitate an entire session in English, and parents who have a second language, or whose parents whose English is a second language, they will be able to see it live on their cell phone. Never thought that that was something that was going to be available. So that's incredible. I want to incorporate it in our classroom because, as you know, our teachers, they have students that are new to the country. But they do have an iPhone. Incredible. That student, if the teacher is speaking using Microsoft Teams, will be able to understand everything the teacher is saying in her or his native language. The advancement in technology are just incredible.
Will an updated school supply list be given out for remote versus hybrid?
I think my principals and my teachers, they are all waiting to see what September is going to look like so that they can determine what the supplies list will be. One thing I can say about supplies is don't go out there and buy a lot of things at this point. Don't spend your money on a lot of supplies. I'd rather that if you have money, you buy a laptop for your child. I know what it is to buy supplies. So sometimes you go out there and between clothes and supplies, you will spend $400, $500 in one day. Please take that $400, $500 and buy a laptop for your child instead, more than anything. That is so critical right now in today's day and age. Equally important, if you have the resources, please make sure that you have high-speed internet access in your home. That is so important. Our children depend on Clever, they depend on Microsoft Teams. Please, we all need to be honest with each other. We, as a district, we are working really hard to open utilizing a hybrid model. However, as Reverend Lopez indicated, there is a possibility that this district might not open come September, that we might have to open in a remote environment. And parents, you need to be ready for that. Science is changing. Statistics are changing. Our work is changing. So please, parents, prepare yourself not to buy supplies or buy uniforms or buy new sneakers for your child. Buy them a laptop. A Chromebook is about $300. That's what it is. That's what it is right now. A Chromebook will be 50,000 times better than you buying crayons for your children. And your children are ready to use technology because they use them in school. So please, buy technology and internet access for your children at this point, more than anything.
And the last question pertaining to hybrid learning is, if a student is entering 9th grade in Saunders, how will the hybrid or remote learning affect their magnet?
Yes, so I have a pending conversation with Principal Mazzola, and maybe if you know the name of that parent, maybe I can get back to that parent at some point and provide that information, because I really want to have a better understanding as to Principal Mazzola will be proceeding with the different magnets in his building.
Are there any other questions pertaining to hybrid learning? We didn't get there just yet.
Good afternoon. My concern is regarding when I have my student at home, my child at home, at what time or how the connection will be
when my student has to log in with their teachers. My concern is regarding a working parent. I have a student, she's going to 6th grade. Since last semester, I was able to train her. I was able to familiarize her with the way she has to connect and work during that time in the computer. I have a pre-K. What am I gonna do now? She needs mom by her side. Mom has to work. Will that time that I'm working, teacher will be posting material or things for her to do? Will that be holding in the computer until mom arrives home and is able to sit down with her and work? Or will it be at the same time during students are in school, she has to be connected?
So they are, thank you. And I know a little bit about pre-K. So it's not going to be a fun time for you, by the way, because the most important part of pre-K is socialization.
Yes.
You know, it's not just learning about the A's and the B's and the C's, it's socialization, which is going to be missing for your child. So I hope that your baby has a lot of nieces and nephews that they can socialize with.
She does not, and there's a gap between a 6th grader and a pre-K. It's very difficult, and she misses her friends because she was in pre-K 3, and she does misses her friends.
Absolutely. So, so the idea about how instruction will be delivered is something that I am consulting with the teachers union leadership as well as the administrators to see what is the best modality to deliver instruction to a child that will not have and needs the support from a parent or from another adult. So we need to figure that out. Last year what we did was we created a distance learning tab in our website, and we put a lot of activities for the parents for pre-K. But nowadays, with the technology, as I was indicating before, utilizing Microsoft Teams or Nearpods, or in the case of pre-K, the platform that is going to be used, most probably, if the trustees approve it, is called Seesaw, SEESAW. It's not as interactive as I would want it to be, but please take a look at it, familiarize yourself with that platform so that we can figure out how to best support your child. But I'm almost certain that you're going to have a teacher that's going to cooperate and support you so that those activities are available for when you get home.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am a frontliner and I have 2 children. One is going to be a senior here in Yonkers Middle High. The other one is going to be in 5th grade in school 5. I want them to have combined distance learning and school learning. So would they be in the same days in school or different days? Because my 10-year-old cannot stay home by himself and I have to work. It's really hard.
So first of all, congratulations on your 12th grader.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Before we started identifying who is in cohort A and cohort B, we locked the siblings together.
Okay.
So all the siblings have already been locked together in our student information system. That was the first activity that we did because we do not want to separate siblings at any point. So the answer is yes. Exactly because of that example is what I said to my team. I said many parents will rely on the high school child to take care of the elementary child. So that has been taken care of already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a question. If the child has, I don't know, it's on A day or the B day, will the same teachers teach them? I have a child in high school. will those same teachers will teach on the online the other 3 days or not?
It's the same teacher for
Yes.
the 5 days, absolutely.
Yes, 5 days, but if she's in high school, and she will have probably different teachers for each subject.
Yes.
Is that right?
But that will not change regardless of the day.
Oh, so they will, even on the online, the other 3 days, she will learn, she will be in home, the same teacher
So if you have,
teach.
your teacher will have, your student will have 6 content area, let's say, so that your child will have 6 different teachers,
Okay.
but it will be the same teacher for every day.
Oh, even on the online class?
Absolutely. That teacher
Okay.
is responsible for those children for 5 days, whether you are in person or on the remote environment.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My question is, will there be cameras allowed in the classrooms? So Group B could watch the teacher deliver the lesson to Group A or vice versa, like a live stream?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't
Okay.
think that's something. It's something that we will discuss with our teachers to see how comfortable they are. I don't necessarily believe that will be something that there are things that occur in a classroom that may contribute to unnecessary expectations, I would say, and I could say it differently, on the child that's home. In addition to that, the fact that you are listening to the class doesn't mean that you are actually following along and connecting. Believe me, they are, you know that I've been reviewing all of the new technology that's out there. So I know of a school that's going to have a TV in this room. For those students that are not in the classroom, it's going to have a TV in another room. For those students that are at home, and it's going to be live all the time. First of all, I don't believe that a child who's home should be in front of a computer for 6-7 hours. To me, that's educational malpractice. You know, if you look at our plan, you know, what we are creating is sort of like community meetings, you know, where that teacher will have an opportunity to connect with the students, you know, at some point during that class, more than anything. So for instance, in the high school, the teacher is expected to teach for about 36 minutes, 35 minutes, I don't remember what the time is. And then there is a period which is called community time. And it is during the community time that then the teacher will go into Microsoft Teams and give sort of like an exit ticket or an activity for all the students to do at once. But it's a little bit different. We're trying a lot of new things, and we're going to rely on the expertise of our teachers to tell us what will be the best way to deliver that curriculum. Remember, the experts in the curriculum are our teachers, so we're going to rely on their expertise.
Okay, also, with 15 days until the first day of school, from the sounds of it, it seems like you may be leaning towards going all remote. And in that case, when will we decide to notify the parents? Because there's only 15 days left.
So if the trustees of the Board of Education and the other authorities decide, together in collaboration with the superintendent, that we will go 100% remote, we will make those decisions very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. With the hybrid schedule and the staggering of the buses and some of the classes that won't be taught, like art and music and gym, is there a school time? Are the kids going to be in school from 8:35 till 3? Do we have a set time that they're going to be in school when they do go in?
When we go into the hybrid model, it's going to be the regular day of instruction.
It is.
That's not going to change. What may change is what time the initial class begins. So in a school that begins at 7:30, because of all of the steps that we need to take, there's a possibility that first period will not start until 8 a.m. Because we want to give enough, we want to give ourselves enough time to, first of all, prevent students gathering together. We also want to do some of the health checks, as the students are entering. We are purchasing kiosks. I mean, those electronic devices where the child just passes by in front of it, and it tells you whether your body temperature is appropriate to be in school or not. So we need a little bit more time before that first period begins.
So it's a regular school day, the 8:35 to 3, and
it's a full day of instruction.
Okay, thank you.
And to add to that, be aware of the fact that we have received nothing from the state ed department that says you can have less than 180 days of instruction. In other words, for every day that we don't have instruction, say, there was some preliminary discussion of not having school the entire month of September, would have cost us approximately $10 million in aid, because we don't get reimbursed if we're not open. So along with that, the state ed department did make a minor tweak to the 180 days and change it into minutes for the year. So they've been very, very helpful with that. But we still have to have regular days of instruction, and we're very pleased that we have our interim state education commissioner, Betty Rosa, on board, who was the chancellor, because there was a vacuum at the state ed department in a very critical time. She decided it's in the best interest of our kids for her to resign her position as chancellor of the Board of Regents and become the interim chancellor of the state education department. And Ms. Rosa knows Yonkers very well. We have a great relationship with her, and we expect a great leadership from her at state ed.
So the topic we wanted to touch bases on was the safety. I believe there was a question from Samantha.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having this forum, this town hall meeting for everybody to have the opportunity to speak to you. And we do appreciate the $2 million towards our schools and the collaborative nature in which we advocate for funding on the federal and state levels consistently, and we will continuously do that. It is unfortunate that our federal government has chosen not to give us an additional funding, which further reduces our budget at the state level. Obviously, we all wish that this didn't happen and we'd all go back to normal, come back into a classroom. Teaching and learning is a social activity where people do best and dependent on the interactive relationship. And unfortunately, the COVID pandemic has created a situation where that's not possible. The Board of Education has been given a Herculean task with very limited resources, and so you're charged, all of us are charged, to put together an educational system that assumes that the funding and resources are there in order to do it effectively. So we're left with doing the best that we can with what we have. We all want to be there. We all want to see our students. We miss them dramatically. For those, I'm Samantha Rosado Cirillo, president of the Teachers Union, Yonkers Federation of Teachers. Our teachers have some concerns about health and safety, and again, it's because of our limited resources that concern exists. We have concerns about the ventilation systems. We have concerns about the limited staffing necessary in order to safely get our students from point A to point B, to enable our students to safely socially distance, both on the school buses. I question, do we have a bus monitor on every bus in order to safely navigate our breakfasts and lunches? Do we have school aides for every class in order to watch the students both in the classrooms and in the cafeterias, or even for each class if they were all together? And the answer is no, we don't. And our teachers and students have been home for many months. They've experienced traumatic experiences. They've experienced death. They've experienced loss. Many have trauma and PTSD, and that goes for our staff and our students both. And we feel that the safest, most responsible way to approach entering into a new school year is to address those social emotional needs and the academic needs, and to put the health and safety protocols in place necessary and practice those protocols before the students come back. The staff needs their mental health addressed. The staff needs training in remote learning. The staff needs health and safety training protocols. The staff needs to practice those protocols, and the staff needs to engage with each and every family and child that is going to be before them to assess their academic needs, their social emotional needs, their technological needs, before we can effectively move forward. So the question is, what will the district do to ensure that those things that I just mentioned are in place and ready to receive our students in September? Thank you.
Well, first off, I want to start off by saying, we're doing everything we can, and everything that you have asked for is not going to get done. It's not possible. You're asking for the impossible. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. Although there are ways to do that. You can either make the hole square or the peg round. We've been able to do that in certain situations. But as you know, this is a unique situation where there are a lot of issues and a lot of challenges for everybody, from childcare all the way up to transportation, all the way up to health, social, emotional well-being and health, that cannot be addressed. And that's why we need to pull them together collectively, side by side, we can work this out. It may very well be that at the end of the day, we can't. But we're making every single effort we can. And yes, we need to put pressure on the Congress, on the federal government. Our state legislator, our state delegation have done a yeoman's job. Senator Stuart Cousins, Senator Mayor Gary Pretlow, Dr. Sage have done an excellent job in advocating for us, but we know that the state has no money. And if and Congress, by the way, they just went on vacation. You know that, don't you? They just went on break. Right in the middle of talking about stimulus, and hey, by the way, I'll see you up at Martha's Vineyard. We gotta go. So we gotta put pressure on them. Because last week we received our reimbursement from the state, the first of many. And guess what? It was short 20%. And what the state said was, we are cutting this 20%, and this cut may be permanent. So not only do we have to deal with funding issues, not only do we got to get on the case of the federal government, we really need to hold them accountable to provide additional stimulus money to our state so that we don't have to deal, aside from everything we're dealing with here, to deal with another 20% cut in the middle of our school year. It's just unfathomable that they can be so irresponsible. But if it doesn't work, we'll do what we got to do. We're all in this together.
Thank you. So let me add to what Reverend Lopez indicated, and thank you, Ms. Rosado Ciriello, for speaking today and sharing several of the points that I have heard you say in many of our meetings. And they are in my mind daily, 24/7. The health and safety of all of us is at the core of our work, including my own health. Because I have always said, if I am not healthy, then no one around me is. Okay. Certainly, we have challenges in our district. We have financial challenges that determine our level of staffing. But there is no doubt whatsoever that we are significantly reducing the number of children that will be in a school building, which will facilitate for us the implementation of a hybrid model. Certainly, as Reverend Lopez indicated, all options are on the table. And it pains me to tell my families that remote learning to begin our school is an option, and it has always been an option. But I do know that I have been in this city now for 22 years. I was an assistant principal in a school for 3 years, and I was a principal for 10 consecutive years. And every single time there was a crisis, my staff came together to address that crisis. Because ultimately the crisis belongs to the school. You know, it doesn't just belong to the district, it first belongs to the school. And what I have found in every crisis is that the staff comes together around the children and educates, provides support, provides assistance, and creates condition that always helps our children. There's no doubt that we have the oldest schools in New York State. There is no doubt whatsoever that Yonkers is the only big city whose state has not supported as it relates to rebuilding our schools. There is no doubt whatsoever that if we were to update all of our ventilation system, it will cost over $100 million. That's what it is projected to cost. And it will take 5, 6, 7 years for us to do it. So, as I recognize that we do have challenges, not only, pre-K was just cut 20%. It was cut $2.4 million. Now I need to figure out how to reduce $2.4 million from the pre-K program, which means that I will end up having to cut seats from pre-K, and you know what that means. So we are in the biggest challenge of education. But if we wait to update our ventilation system to where they should be, well, when will we open our schools? In 2027? Well, I'm not sure that we can afford that. What I am comfortable saying to you is that we need to continue to advocate for funding. We need to bring our schools to operate as they were designed. We need to educate our children and our families as to what are some of the steps that we can take to keep ourselves safe, and we need to do this collaboratively. We've been doing this for many years. This is, as I said before, the biggest challenge in education. And understand that in my professional opinion, we have been asked as a municipality to do this alone. Okay, we don't necessarily have partners out there that are coming to our rescue. So I urge all of you, let's do this together. Let's figure this together. But let's keep children at the center of the conversation. And our children, we need to figure out how to bring our children back to school.
And also to add to that, Samantha, as you do know, I also drafted a resolution that passed 7-0 urging for more funding to come into Yonkers as well. So we're waiting back on that answer from the state for the resolution, but it was passed 7-0 before the city council went into session. So the next topic we are moving to is the remote learning. There was a couple of questions that came in pertaining to remote learning, and they are as follows. Will students doing distance learning have a specialized time for virtual meetings with teachers daily?
That's a question that we address. And that is a question And that is a topic that we are discussing with our bargaining unit leaders, with our administrators. We have put together a proposal for what remote learning will look like. By Friday of this week, we need to post that proposal online, so it will be available because we will meet the mandates of the governor. The governor now requested that we have our remote learning plan clearly visible in our website. He has also asked us that we put the testing protocols as well as tracing protocols clearly online, so we will meet those expectations and have them online by Friday.
Next question is, how many hours will be provided to online instruction daily?
That's a collaboration with our teachers union and our administrators, and I'm sure that we will by Friday come up with the best system possible.
Next question is, this is my son's first year going to school. I'm a single mother and I work full time. I wanted to know, what is the plan for full remote learning? Does he have to sit in front of a computer from, let's say, 8 to 2? Or will he be able to wait until I get home from work to help him with his lessons online?
I think that's the same predicament of the parent that spoke before. Anyone that recommends that a pre-K child sits in front of a computer from 8 to 2 should be brought to educational malpractice court. I mean, that's how I feel about that. I think a pre-K child, in my opinion, and I am not a early childhood expert, should not be in front of an electronic device for more than an hour and a half. That's my own personal opinion, and I will discuss with our teachers and our administrators how do we put that together. And there will be instances when the activities will be available for the parent to do it when the parent returns from work. So we need to create those conditions as well.
Last question pertaining to remote learning was, will online instruction occur while the hybrid students are in class?
We have a proposal that depending on the grade level, it affords for those opportunities. So it's only a question of when do we finalize that proposal and when do we have it ready for parents to have a clear understanding of how that will take place.
Are there any further questions related to remote learning?
Good evening. There's going to be a lot of grandparents like myself that's going to be teaching their child, that's going to be responsible for teaching the student. A lot of grandparents don't know how to navigate a computer. Do y'all guys have a grandma's group or something, like some type of support system for us?
So first of all, grandparents are also welcome to come to our Parents Academy that's going to start Thursday. I know you saw the flyer, so please join us at those academy. And every year, every December, I meet with grandparents who are raising Yonkers children. We do a lunch for them in the public library. I hope to see you at the December luncheon because I know how active you are providing support to us, and thank you for helping us with providing food to those families that were facing food insecurity. But I love the concept of having a grandparents group. Dr. Arias, let's put that idea, let's run with that idea because I would love to facilitate some of the sessions with our grandparents.
Thank you very much.
We'll get Lorraine and Gail involved in that.
Are there any questions that we have missed that anyone would like to come to the podium and address?
Good evening. I do have a question about health and sanitary conditions
This young lady's kind enough to wipe down and sanitize the podium each time someone came up to speak. I wanted to know, how can we ensure that our buildings are sanitary when we have about 200 to maybe 1,500 kids each day in a building? And I'm thinking about the bathrooms, water faucets, touching them when they wash their hands, the handrails and the stairwells. How are we going to keep those clean?
I couldn't recognize you at first. One of my music teachers.
Yes.
It's, you know, I don't ever want to sit here and report that my custodians will be 100% responsible for this. They are one or two or three individuals in a school. Let me quickly correct something. We will never have 1,500 children in a building. You know, even this is our largest building in the district, this one in YMA, and the most they will have, you know, is about 800 children. This building is designed for about 2,000 children. I think what is important for me to share with you is that we must enforce the use of masks and face shields at all times. The research is clear. The use of face mask or any other any device to cover your face is what's most important as we deal with this pandemic. So we as a district, we will do our very best to work with our custodians and our food service employees to make sure that those areas that are utilized are properly sanitized. We are in the middle of making sure that we have enough wipes for every classroom so that they are available. We need to make sure that sanitizers are available. You know, we need to make sure that we remove or that we turn off our water fountains. That way they are not utilized. So we need to make sure that we address our bathrooms and put the proper dividers in our bathroom so that there's no direct contact. We need to make sure that children are facing in one direction. That way there's no contamination as they are speaking to each other. It's all about putting systems in place. You know, it's not only about sanitizing and cleaning, it's about what are the safety protocols that we are teaching our children. Are they washing their hands? Are they covering their face? Those things are important. I mean, one of the questions I was asked yesterday is, what happens when I have to sneeze and I'm wearing a mask? You know, I couldn't come up with an answer to that. You know, because I know that this is new to me. I know that when I have to sneeze and I am amongst people, I do it right in the mask. And then I go try to get a different mask. You know, but these are difficult times, which require a great deal of teaching, and we are in the best profession, because at least we get to learn and educate, you know. So that's as much as I can share with you, that, you know, we're not here to eliminate all risk. There's no institution that is proposing to eliminate all risk. All we can do is mitigate the risk. All we can do is limit risk. All we can do is put in place all the conditions that would allow for risk to be limited. But can we eliminate all risk? I don't think anyone is able to do that.
Thank you.
And finally, in addition to that, the water fountain issue, we ordered water fountains similar to what you now see at the airports, where you could bring your own bottle and just put it under there and you get filtered water. They probably won't be here for the first day of school, but in the event they're not here for the first day of school and they're not installed, we have a commitment from the superintendent to provide all of our kids with bottled water in the schools, similar to when we have an emergency. So the water issue will be dealt with. As far as high contact areas, banisters and stairs should be wiped down on a regular basis. You can do that while you're walking down the hall if you're a custodian, you know. There's one thing that a custodian used to be able to make sure that he always had on him, and a great custodian has a scraper to make sure he has it. But come this September, he's going to make sure he has the scraper, a squirt bottle, and a rag with him as well. That's going to make a great custodian. And finally, you know our teachers. I mean, you know, you love your kids to death, And if you have wipes in the classroom and you were given some sort of, you were given the necessary tools, you'd be helping wiping down and showing the kids proper, like as you're a teacher. And finally, pencils. You know, pencils should be kept with the children, not shared amongst each other. I know that in some banks they have 2 baskets. One is the sanitized pens, the other is the used pens, or they'll give you a pen. But I'm recommending that when kids bring their supplies, they have their pencil case and they stick with their own pencils, and we got plenty of number 2s in this country.
Thank you.
Before we wrap it up, are there any more questions that need to be addressed?
One quick question. Do we know if the grades are going to be pass-fail like they were in the spring, or are the kids going to get grades?
I know you too.
Yes, you do.
This is terrible.
They're getting grades.
No, the grading policy will not change for this new year. There's only one grading policy in the district that was instituted years ago. That's the policy that we will start with. If at any point I feel that we need to bring a new grading policy to the trustees, then I will collaborate with my teachers and my administrators, and we'll put a new grading policy together, and parents, like we did during March through June. We will collaborate together, and then we'll bring it to the trustees if we decide that that's the way to go. For me right now, I heard from many parents that it was extremely important that numeric grades be given. So I'm a good listener, and it is my expectation that we will continue with our grading policy.
So before we end this town hall, I just want to give a special thanks to Reverend Lopez for coming out, also Dr. Quezada for coming out, as well as Samantha from the Teachers Union, and as well as all of the parents that actually came out to ensure that the safety and the well-being of your children are put first. And this is our main goal and our priority, to make sure that no child is left behind, that no questions are left unanswered. And even after today, when you leave here and you feel as if that you have another question, please feel free to reach out to my office or reach out to the Board of Education, Yonkers Public Schools. We're all in this together. And the only way we're going to get through this is if we all stick together as one. Lastly, I want to say thank you to Rue Ross for coming out and actually recording this and having this live, so that no person, whether they were not here, that they were not left out, that everyone was included on many different platforms. And before we end this, I'm going to have Reverend Lopez pull a name out of this, so the child's name on there will get the mystery gift.
Now look. You want to read? Mateo Gari Girim, School 28, Grade 6. Hey, we have a winner over here.
For coming out, your child will get a brand new, specially engraved iPad, so they can be ensured to start off the school year on a positive note.
What did you want me to put my name in?
You're welcome, yes. So this concludes our town hall. Thank you again for everyone for coming out.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you.